So I'm just going to ask one really quick question, then we're going to go to the audience. So you're going to Washington
Yes,
from here?
yeah.
Are you meeting with the president?
I'm going to go to the White House tomorrow for lunch.
What are you going to tell him?
Um,
Or what do you think they're going to
I
want
think
to
he
know?
has bigger issues to think about than this one.
Yeah, right.
But if he had a moment, I would probably tell him that, you know, I have a huge appreciation to your education legacy and what you have done here, and I know many educators in different states here. And Mr. President, I think that you could do a much better job with your testing and assessment part of your education system. That to me is preventing too many teachers and students to really learn what they need to make your country prosperous and the best economy in the world. And you can do it much cheaper. But you're spending money on something that is not giving you any return on that investment, and then I leave it up to you to decide how to do this. I would also add that I would be very happy to host you in Finland and show you how the American system works in practice in Finland.
So do you think you can call the White House and say you'll be a little late? Because we have like, I think, 200 questions to ask you here, right?
Yeah, I don't know how this. I don't know how this president sees Texas. You know, Nokia used to be very important for Finland 10 years ago, and if this had happened 10 years ago, what happened now a couple of weeks ago, it would have been a catastrophe for our economy. But we have been kind of moving away from this thing. And my answer to your question is that one of the critical conditions for our economy that is now depending more than ever on creativity and innovation, people's ability to come up with the new ideas that have value. We must continue to have the education system that has been designed based on these same principles. In other words, our education system cannot produce a kind of a standardized outcomes or results of people who are all more or less mastering and knowing the same things. We have to continue to educate people, Finnish people, to be different. We have to have an education system that is able to help as many young people in Finland as possible to discover their own strength, their own talent during the school. Okay? And if we are not able to do that, our economy will have very, very hard time in the future. And that's why I think we have deliberately in our education system made a decision that Finland wants to educate different people. So the outcome of education must be kind of a diversity of abilities and personalities and individuals, rather than standardized, prescribed outcomes of where most of the people know most of the things in the same way. So this kind of a focus on flexibility, creativity, innovation through education is a critical condition. Yeah, I think we have every now and then there's this kind of an effort to try to make Finnish children start schooling earlier at the age of 6, like most other countries are doing in the world. But the argument is always from Finnish parents, they say that children must play, that the play is children's job, and I think they're absolutely right. I belong to those parents too who think that starting a school at the age of 7 is good, primarily because play is one kind of a part of activity through which young person can probably better have an opportunity to realize that they have a mind, they have a kind of a capacity to imagine things. That gets back to this my previous answer. So I think we are pretty much fixed to this situation that we have now, that the school will start at the age of 7, but that there needs to be a preschool 1 year before that is optional for parents. I think when we look at the other part of the compulsory, the other end of the compulsory education at the age of 15 or 16, you know, I used to be a high school teacher. I was teaching math and science in high school in Helsinki, and it made a big difference knowing that students in my class, in my school, were there because they wanted to be there. They had chosen to come to that school and to my classes as well. And that's why I think that we probably will have much better, higher quality education system if we keep the system as it is now, where the high school is optional, and we try to redesign and continue to develop our high school, both of these parts of the high school, in a way that it will serve the interests and needs of young people in an ideal way. If it was compulsory in Finland, I think we would not need to think so much about this because we know that the kids, you are there because you have to be there, okay? So that's why I think we are quite happy with the current situation that we have right now.
So in Finland, you approached quality and then allowed choice to kick in.
That's right.
And we might be doing it like the other way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you're pointing very, very important part of the Finnish school system that we are truly giving arts and drama and music and all those non-academic, even the manual skills or hands-on learning in Finland, the equal status in our curriculum than the academic subjects. So for example, the current government now changed the time allocation, kind of a framework that they provide to our districts and schools to set their standards and design their work so that there will be more focus on arts and drama in the future. Although you can see that the Finnish results in math and probably science are slipping down, but Finland's response to these little bit worsening results in math and science is to do less math and science and more music and drama. It's very interesting that we are not responding to these things in a kind of a logical way. But for example, music education is a backbone of Finnish education system, and we are very, very proud of the way we are providing young people opportunities to learn music and to do the music. Every primary school in Finland has every classroom in primary school has what is this old thing that you, piano or the accordion?
Keyboard.
And you know, one of the conditions to become a primary school teacher in Finland is that you have to be able to sing. When you sit in front of this panel that is interviewing you, it happened to me when I tried to get into primary school teacher education, but I was never smart enough to get through. And in the middle of this interview, one of the professors said, "Sing me a song." I said, "What song would you like to hear?" I said, "Any song, just anything." And maybe I was rejected because I sang a song. But everybody seriously, that music is considered so important that sometimes these students are tested whether they are able to, you know, whether music is so close to what they do that they're able to sing. So thank you for asking this question. It's a very important part of the thing.
Maybe Stairway to Heaven.
That was not available condition. I was invited to spend a week in a Texas Christian University in the Fort Worth, Dallas area last spring. And one of the reasons for doing that was that there's one professor there in the university who was in a Fulbright exchange in Finland. She's in a physical education program there. And she was so taken about what she saw in Finland, particularly this non-academic side, how Finland is giving every student, every school must have a 15-minute recess between the lessons so that the kids can go out and do their physical activities. That she wanted to see if there's interest in the Dallas area to kind of redesign schools that would look a little bit more like Finnish schools, primary schools. And now she's working with the 3 districts there, school districts. And she has a number of schools where they try to do exactly this thing. And they start with a very small, tiny little things like reintroducing a recess. So that there will be, between math and reading class, there will be 15 minutes for kids and they can go out and play. And here in Texas it's nice, you know, your weather is beautiful. But think about Finland in January. Kids still do the same. They put all their gear on and they go out even if it's a hell of a cold there. Okay, and this testing thing is another one, and I think she is very close. She went to see Annie Duncan in the summer when I was in Washington, D.C. as well, to explain that she wants to have a kind of a waiver from the state testing and also probably federal testing thing for these schools and districts that want to try out this thing and rely more on kind of a teacher, school, district-based student assessment and reporting. And there's one other thing, I can't remember what it is related to this. No, I think it's a reintroduction, the physical education and arts and music to the school program. So, you know, these are some of the things that people can do. It's not an easy thing, you know. This woman is working really hard to make this work and spending a lot of time with the policymakers and people who decide on these things. But one thing I think the promising thing is that if you can show that you can still run the school system like this, without some of these things that you are doing right now, or not to the same extent, and that you may have happier children, you may equally satisfied parents and others in a community, so maybe this will bring the change. I don't think you can never win the fight against the machine. You know, politics is too powerful to to be beaten by these opinions. But I think it's also very important for all of you to be aware of this global movement and have an argument with the evidence. And just ask the people to, explain you why they think that this or that thing is a good thing to do. Where is the evidence for this? And then we get closer to the kind of a core of the argument.